Picture this. You just got home from school and you hop on your Xbox 360 and boot up one of your favorite games. Maybe it's Halo, maybe it's Gears of War, maybe it's even Mass Effect. Regardless of what game or console you were playing on, it always seemed as if we had good games to play. Fast forward a few years and now you hop on your computer and you're undecided what you want to play. You sit there for hours just trying to figure out what game you want to boot up. You sit there browsing the Steam new releases and hope that there is something there to keep your attention long enough for the next new thing to come out. Then you've realized you've been looking around for too long and you need to get some sleep soon. So you log into an MMO to grind or log into a few matches of League of Legends or Apex. Or whatever video game that doesn't take too much time to get in and out of matches for. I'm sure many of you will call this video nostalgia bait or ranting, but I feel as if there's a bigger problem at hand here. If you've been playing video games for a long time, I'm sure that many of you feel that the quality of video games have gone down significantly, and that maybe your interest in them has diminished. Many would say that you are simply growing up, that games aren't your thing anymore, or you just need to find a new hobby. I'm sure it's true for some. I simply refuse to believe that gaming is just a nerdy hobby you grow out of. I, for one, have always enjoyed gaming as a hobby, and while the industry has seen nothing but absolute growth, I think the issue lies elsewhere. I believe that the issue comes down to games being simply unfinished. You see, gaming companies back then had to make a name for themselves, so they released games with the utmost care and had plenty of time to work on them. Let's take one of the most influential video games of our time, Halo. Halo easily is one of the most influential video games of our generation. This is a stark change compared to what we get now. AAA video games get released on a yearly basis now, and because of this, a lot of them are unfinished because of rushed development. Now, remember this because I'll touch on this later. Now, before I get ahead of myself, I do want to talk about the counter argument to gaming getting worse. Gamers simply are asking for too much. Everywhere on the internet, you can and will see people stating that gamers are selfish and are expecting every new game to be the next best game. And you know what? They're right. Gamers expect games to live up to their expectations, to their hype. They want them to be perfect, which sometimes for gaming companies is, well, impossible. The thing is, gamers are not at fault for this. They want to find a game that grabs their attention and keeps it for a long time. They want passion. They want to sit down after a long day and escape into a world that is both far from reality and, simply put, fun. I, however, will not tell you that all gamers are asking for too much, because I believe that the balance of give and take between the consumer and developer is mutual. There's no better example of this next point other than what was released in late 2020, Cyberpunk 2077. While there were a boatload of issues with this game, it's more about the principle of gamers thinking that they were going to get the best game that they've ever played. CD Projekt Red hyped up the project, showing all the features that we would get, all the in-depth decision making, all the world building that we would be interacting with, and we barely got any of that. But we got a beautiful world, but we didn't get nearly as many features as we thought, which made us, well, pretty pissed. If the company promises features and gameplay, and in the end product we don't get them, gamers should be upset. Now you could say we were overhyped for this release, and you would be right, because the expectations of the consumer were impossible to reach. Both parties need to be understanding. Gaming corporations need to understand that they have fans. that they need to impress, and that the consumer wants nothing but to be excited and to have hours of fun with their game. While fans need to realize that these games take time and talent to create, and that at the end of the day they need to meet a deadline. No one party is at fault here. Gamers expect renowned games with good track records to release games that are good. That just makes sense. Like, if Fallout was such a great series, then Fallout 76 might as well be a masterpiece. Or Cyberpunk must be great because CD Projekt Red made The Witcher. Or Dying Light 2 will be great because the first one was great, right? And unfortunately, these are all not the case. We want these games to be good because we adore the franchise. Most people don't get excited for the next FIFA or Madden because everyone already knows they're going to be shit. So who cares? Now, I want to touch on the 2 points before this. Unfinished games and deadlines. Gamers feel like there has been a huge dip in the quality of newer games. Games today feel and play like they're unfinished. Let's take a brand new game that came out as of me writing this. Warhammer 40k Darktide. Darktide was hyped up to be an easy success since Fat Shark's Vermintide did so well. Darktide will just be another drop in the bucket of good games they make, basing it on the loved 40k world as well. Unfortunately, it flopped on release, and reviews say it's not optimized, it's buggy, it doesn't have all the features they promise, and it's simply just unfinished. That's the key word here, unfinished. Games today are simply just rushed messes that either lack features, have poor optimization, have awful balancing, or simply aren't fleshed out enough. These all fall under the category of being unfinished. I'm going to quickly rapid fire games and issues within them. Ready? Darktide, monetization. Missing features. Apex, missing good audio. I got no audio on them. And HitReg. Tarkov, missing good audio as well, and poor optimization and is buggy. Modern Warfare 2, constant crashes and lack of features. Halo Infinite, severe lack of features. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, lack of features and extremely buggy. Battlefield 2042, bad, well, everything. This isn't even the start. This is just what is recent. A lot of these games have outstanding positives like world building or beautiful graphics or gameplay that some people may enjoy. But games today come out in an unfinished state. This is just a sad truth. Some of these games I've mentioned might be fantastic games in years down the line, but that is the problem. Games today released unfinished and get worked on and finished years down the line, or then they are considered good games. I bet some of you haven't heard of No Man's Sky since its initial flop when it was released. Funny enough, it was actually a pretty well received game because it's a completely different game from when it was initially released. Cyberpunk gets constant patches to make the game smoother to play and even fixes bugs. Today, Steam's Early Access has a fair amount of games on its list, but there are many AAA games today that get released that aren't in Early Access that really should be. The model of Early Access itself is not flawed, but if a company does it right, getting feedback from the players and implementing it into your game is a great way to keep players happy and coming back. But what if the company doesn't want to complete their game because they've already made plenty of money off of it? This is the biggest issue companies can get away with, releasing games in unfinished states because they profited big time already, so they do the bare minimum to maintain their game. They pump things like skins and other cosmetics into their game because it makes them more money rather than improving on features, because once the game has already come out, the game's popularity peaked on its first day, meaning it has made most of its money already. As a consumer, I and others understand that these companies need to make money, It is sad to see a lot of the passion being taken out of these games, instead just being a yearly release to meet stakeholders' needs. I will say not all games are like this. There are plenty of examples of newer games from either AAA companies or indie devs that are fantastic. You have games like Elden Ring, God of War, and many others. I think the reason we feel like more games are getting worse is because we have so many to choose from now. The gaming industry as a whole has grown immensely. Even as early as 2017, the gaming industry has gone from roughly 90 billion to 196 billion in 2022, according to Statista.com. So it makes sense to see companies pushing out releases to make their money as fast as possible. But as a consumer, that means we get to see way more flops compared to before. You see, older games weren't all that perfect. I'm sure we all remember a little game that many of us loved that was an absolute buggy mess. Skyrim.
But there's one they fear. In their tongue, he is Dovahkiin, Dragonborn.
Skyrim, while loved by fans, was a buggy pile of shit. I mean, the bugs were really funny to see, but why does Skyrim get a pass? Well, Skyrim had so much more meat on its bones than newer games. It simply had hundreds of hours of gameplay to enjoy and experience. And while it simply is not acceptable to release a game with that many bugs in it, I think Skyrim brought much more to the table in other features. Skyrim had a gorgeous world with important decisions and fun interactive gameplay with tons to explore around the map. And this brings me to my final point. No game is without its flaws, no matter what time period it's from. Even a game as beloved as Halo 3 had horrible desync issues in its multiplayer, to the point where it was sometimes unplayable. Now you could say it's nostalgia, but I think it's much deeper than that. I think that games like Skyrim and Halo 3 had so much more to offer other than their glaring issues. To compare, we can look at Halo 3 to Halo Infinite. Halo 3 had co-op campaign, Forge, theater mode, file share, and multiplayer with 24 maps and 35 game modes. 35! For a game that was released 14 years later being Infinite, why would it have so little features in comparison? It simply doesn't make sense. This is the main issue with what is here. While I do not want to look over the issues that plagued older games, I do think, however, they were more complete. Overall, I think it's sad to see a lot of passion for creating video games being sucked out of the process only to be replaced by unfinished products and soulless successors. Thankfully, we have the indie creators that create fresh new products for us so that it can breathe life into the saturated gaming market. And while I sit here and hope that Final Fantasy 16 will be my game of the year next year, it's hard to sit here and see my absolute favorite hobby slowly undo itself. Thanks for watching, everyone. This was a big passion project for me for quite some time, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to think about gaming nowadays. Am I just nostalgic and an idiot? Probably. Thanks again, everyone. Let me know what you think in the comments and leave a like. Thank you so much.